Good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, December 19th, 2019. And here are our top stories. We'll take a look at intergenerational workplaces and new rules make it easier to plan your will online. Well, good morning, everyone. And more and more employers are now looking to create workplaces that include multiple generations. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Carrie Hannon. She is a personal finance expert, author, and columnist for MarketWatch and New York Times. Carrie, so great to see you again. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Wonderful to be here, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Well, it's always great talking with you, and glad to see that the weather is pretty nice this day in Washington, D.C. It's a little cool here in New York, but things are looking up with the passage of the Secure Act. And before we jump in, I want to ask you about last time you were on. You talked about She Leads, which is your not-for-profit that really focuses on women and investing in financial literacy. How did that go?
Oh, we had a wonderful event down in Columbus, Georgia, and terrific turnout of women. It's a free event, all ages, diversity, women at totally different stages of their life. Some, thinking about retirement, some just getting started. But Jeff, the thing that was most exciting for me is we had a whole panel just on entrepreneurship. And it was inspiring and very exciting. And so I started with a new walk-up music for me before I give my keynote is Girls Just Want to Have Funds Instead of Fun. So by Cyndi Lauper. So it was a blast. And anyway, more to come in 2020. So
absolutely. And people, sorry to interrupt, and people should certainly check that out. And I'll post a link to our previous show where you talked about that. I mean, it's just amazing work and a lot of important information. And as you always say, the women are the fastest growing segment of our population that are becoming entrepreneurs. I didn't word that right, but I think I got that right statistically.
The message is there. Yeah.
Well, I'm not the most eloquent speaker, but I don't know how I got this job. Anyway, so let's jump right in. You just recently wrote a piece about multi-generational workplaces of the future. Let's talk about that because I think it's so important. Coming up, always appreciated my elders. And now that I am an elder, I appreciate working with the younger generation as well. But tell us a little bit about the article and what your thoughts are there.
Right. I did a column for MarketWatch, really off of a conversation. I ran into Deborah Whitman, who is AARP's Chief Public Policy Officer, at an event in Washington that was celebrating the AARP Purpose Prize Award winners. So that was kind of the impetus. And I said, hey, I've been looking a lot about multi-generational workforces and wrote a piece about Mercer, which is a global consulting company that had just done a big study saying, hey, we've got to pay attention. This is the future. So at any rate, Deborah said, hey, I want to tell you what we're doing. It's a collaborative effort called Living, Learning, and Earning Longer. And so, Jeff, what this is all about is big companies coming together to engage. I think they had maybe 100 global employers sitting down and saying, what can we do to harness the experience of our older workers, and when I say the word older, I mean 50 and over, and also retain the younger workers. So this is the workforce of the future. As more people are staying on the job longer for a variety of reasons, but there's some great benefits and for companies, not only for employers but for employees when you have this.
Yeah. I love the idea, and as I said, kind of tongue in cheek, but I really mean it. I think there's a lot to be learned, and the benefits to an organization when you have all these generations of people is you have the input, the wisdom, the experience, and then you have the youthful exuberance, and that really it transforms people from other generations. I mean, you pick up these different characteristics, and I think it's amazing, and I really believe that this is the future as you're describing. So it's nice to see that AARP and other organizations are partnering together to figure this out.
Yeah, and it's really, really important. I mean, Whitman, Deborah told me that research that they've done is confirming, and I found this from other research I have personally done as well, that of any age group, workers age 50 and older are the most engaged in their jobs. That's emotionally, that's intellectually, that's productively. And what that means is they're more productive on the job. And what that means for employers is, bottom line income growth. So, it really is important for companies to pay attention to this because, there are a lot of barriers for older workers to stay in the workplace. And, companies do give a lot of lip service to, oh, yeah, we're going to pay attention. It's like how they pay attention to, oh, we're going to make it easier for women to stay on the job when they have families, or, more flexible work schedules, which we know is pretty daunting and a lot more superficial than reality. But the important thing is they're starting to talk about it and recognize the need to keep older workers.
And to your point, I mean, I think that we are kind of transforming, or we have transformed into a gig economy, and it's possible. If if I enjoy multiple things as an employer and as a worker, maybe I take hours working for one company, and maybe I do another job for another company, and I think it's a way for you don't have to pay those full-time benefits or those full-time hour salaries, but you get the benefits of having that experience and wisdom, and really, I think employers, even large, small, mid-size, they really need to think very creatively about how to leverage people of all generations in order to maximize their own profit and their success.
I think that's absolutely true. You're spot on. And the other studies have shown that when you have two generations working together, workforce teams that combine the generations are more productive. I mean, there is really evidence out there that shows that they're much more dynamic when they work together. And so, companies need to really pay attention to that. And also, when you ask employees in general, 7 out of 10 say, hey, I want to work with somebody who's younger, or I want to work with somebody who's older, because they get it. They see that you benefit from the experience on both sides. It could be, an older worker benefiting from the maybe the technological and some of the edginess of somebody who's a little bit younger, and then the general work experience. And I've seen this, I've done this, I know how to make it happen for an older worker giving back to the younger. So it's a really dynamic combination.
Yeah, Kara, I never really understood this old mentality, and old, I don't mean old in terms of age, I mean this old school mentality that it has to be, generations have to conflict. I've always viewed it as it's a collaborative. If we can work together, whether it's different genders, if it's all different types of people can work together, I think as an organization, you're just better off. And by organization, I don't just mean for-profit. I mean not-for-profit, for-profit, government. You can be success. And I think the future successes of organizations that I just mentioned is in leveraging all different people with all different types of skill sets and what they bring to the table to then transform the organization. That to me is the future. And that old school mentality of pitting Gen X, which I am, against Gen Z or Gen Y versus the boomers, that doesn't make any sense to me. That is so old school and so passé.
Yeah, no, so true. It's having the blinders on. And the thing is, we can talk more about this at another point, but one of the keys to making this multi-generational workforce click is offering a variety. Companies can do some pretty simple things. An easy thing, and you alluded to this earlier, is having flexible work schedules.
Yeah.
And this helps, moms in the workplace too, or parents in the workplace. But for an older worker, it's brilliant. And what it can help do here is it gives work-life balance to people. People feel autonomy. They really feel more engaged in their jobs. It makes their company look good. I mean, it sort of burnishes the reputation of their company. And for an employer, it helps you retain workers because it's really expensive to hire new workers. And it also helps you attract new workers, really great talent. Even millennials and younger people are saying, hey, we want a flexible piece of our work life. And it's something that can't be ignored anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Carrie, I want to hold you over. When we come back, we're going to talk to Carrie about something completely different, but something very necessary, the online wills and what that means for estate planning, what that means for preparing for wealth transfer and inheritance. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Welcome back. We're talking to Carrie Hannon. She's a personal finance expert, author, and also a columnist for Market Watch and the New York Times. Carrie, thanks so much for sticking around this morning.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for asking me to stay.
You are incredible writer, author. You bring a lot to the table in terms of workforce and so much. So we appreciate having you on. So let's talk about online wills. Obviously, having a will, having estate planning, this is important. Regardless of if you are a billionaire, millionaire, you need to have this available to you and for your family. And you've talked about it before on the network. But new rules now, I guess, have made it possible for these online wills. What can you tell us there?
Well, yeah, this summer in July, a nonprofit group known as the Uniform Law Commission, they recommended laws for states to adopt that would approve new rules that are designed to make it somewhat easier to write and validate your will right from the comfort of your home without a notary or a lawyer present. And it's called the Uniform Electronic Wills Act, okay, or the E-Wills Act for short. So people can search that and find out a little more, drill down to the details of that. But essentially, my gosh, we've been able to open credit cards, pay bills, move money between our bank accounts, all kinds of stuff electronically for quite some time now. And we're all fairly comfortable with that. But the idea of having a will, that traditionally you have to go to an estate planning attorney and sit down and have somebody witness it, sign your witnesses, notarize it. I mean, it's a multi-step process, and there's nothing wrong with that. Trust me. I mean, that there are good reasons why it has been that way, and we can talk about that. But it seems as if now it's time to kind of open it up and make it a little bit easier, because frankly, I mean, these are the statistics I saw on caring.com. 61% of people ages 45 to 54 and 34% of those over 65 don't have a will yet. And younger people, it's even larger. And trust, I did not have a will until I got married. I don't know about yourself. So that was when I was, I was maybe 30 or 32. So frankly, it's something that we all need to pay attention to. And if you can make it a little bit easier, this is something to consider.
And to answer your question directly, I did have a will, but now that I've been married for a little over a year, I need to update that will to include my spouse. So very important. And I think you make a great point. I mean, there at all points in your life, you need these estate planning tools, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and these are things that as you accumulate wealth, but you may also have possessions and things that you want to pass forward. And if not, I think they go into, if you have no will, if you had, it can go into probate, and, it takes time to kind of flesh those things out. I really love this. And I think that, and by the way, for the retirement industry, you talked about updating current processes in the retirement industry. We are just getting e-delivery of statements. I mean, think about all the postage and the money that can be saved there. But I think this is amazing. This is really important, and it really brings the wealth management industry forward a few decades into wealth transfer.
Yeah, and the group I talked to is a digital platform called Trust and Will. And again, people can check that out. It's not an advertisement for them. But Cody Barbo is the founder, and he's really taken the lead on making this a possibility for people. So I encourage people to check that out. We're all accustomed to online transactions, so it's a natural. And frankly, it is expensive to have an estate planning attorney work with you. So for some people where cost is an issue, this might open the doors. But I would be remiss not to say that there's a reason why up until now, you need to, the idea has been you need to have it notarized and witnessed physically, because there's this idea of, let's say, fraud. You know, this concern that someone could coerce you into saying, I want to leave X, Y, and Z to this person when you don't, but they're actually, standing beside you when you're doing an online thing, even though it's videoed and so forth. There's some concerns still there. So I think we all need to, pay attention. And on some of these sites, you have been able to fill out a will online and then have it printed out on your own computer and then go somewhere to have it notarized and witnessed physically.
Yeah, and you mentioned these online services, and we're very familiar with, and again, this is not an advertisement, but LegalZoom.com, right? They're one of the more famous sites where you can get all types of documents, whether you're starting a business, whether you're, I don't know if they have wills and estate planning there as well, but it just seems like this part of the industry, and again, I go back to my comment here and in other places that the financial services industry is a little bit behind, and I tie in wealth planning and financial planning and estate planning. I think that we need to be updated. And I think there are reasons there. I think you bring up some good points about fraud, and we have had data privacy and data breaches, and we can talk about Equifax and these other cases that cause people a little bit of pause. But I think you're going to have that regardless. And it's time to kind of bite the bullet and jump off and do these types of things.
Yeah, because what they're aiming toward, and two states I think have started to allow this process, is the whole procedure is recorded, it's encrypted, it's stored. There are ways to do this, and it's free to create an account on some of these sites. So they're looking for up to 20 states to adopt these electronic signatures moving forward. But again, the most important message I want to get across, and I think you do too, is just do a will. Yeah. It's really important. Your whole financial world will be topsy-turvy if something happens and you don't have one. You've worked really hard for your money, for the things you've accumulated, and you do want to make sure it gets to the right people and that your wishes are met.
Yeah, and it's important. And once you have that will, document it, print it out, put it in your files, give it to if you have an attorney, that person can keep it on file, or if you're doing it online, you can file that online, but you need to make a note. What I've done, Carrie, is I have a note for my wife or a list of where all my important information is, so that if I do pass on, I'm not looking to do that anytime soon, knock on wood, but that they have that information, where my passwords, where my digital financial passwords are, so that they have access to that information, where my beneficiary forms are, who my beneficiary forms are. Essentially important to do that and to make sure that you have that documentation for those loved ones if you were to pass on.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that point up, because it is your overall, you need to give a financial playbook to those that your loved ones, so to speak. And, I had an experience about a year ago where my husband was quite ill, and I do this for a living. I write about personal finance, and I thought, do I actually know where all his passwords are? Do I actually know all the, because we have our accounts, his accounts, my accounts, and so I had to really do a little shake up myself and say, where are our financial documents? And so we both know where everything is. Yeah, well, that's really important. And so for the audience, that should be one of your tasks for the end of the year and into, that's a great New Year's resolution. Well, Carrie, always a pleasure talking with you. You're amazing. And I love She Leads. I love all your perspective. Great work. And I want to wish you, and I know the viewers do as well, a very happy holiday. And we'll talk to you after the first of the year. Excellent. Happy holidays to you as well. Take care.
And folks, that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it educational as well. Hey, have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should interview? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, and that's Friday, I'm Jeff Snyder. Keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Waiting here for you to take